Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux with another supporters stream. We got Sulbu and Dan on for now, and maybe our FBI agent will jump on here eventually. Hi, FBI guy. But don't see him on there yet. But anyway, how's everybody doing this week?
I'm doing fine.
Fine.
Good.
It's been kind of slow.
Good. I got me lemon lift tea today. That's what we're serving up today. Specifically bought lemon tea at the store because I haven't had lemon tea in a while. Let's get some lemon tea. It's good. It's caffeinated, which is nice. Very good. I didn't put honey in it, though. I should probably put some honey in there, especially since I have some honey that comes directly from my friend's honey beehive. Just gave it to me. They just extracted it, I don't know, about a day or two before they gave it to me, and then I had a little bit of old honey left, so I was using that up. But anyway, I have when the SHFS happens, I will have some good places to go with bees and animals and food produce and all sorts of fun stuff. And just bunker down somewhere. Hopefully we'll get some power off the solar panels, But anyway, Jose prefer rolling because it isn't afraid of the new. All right. Jeffrey didn't call it rolling back when I still used it. Those days, all the drivers were working back online like today's LTS garbage. All right. So why from 28 and X32, you might ask? Its LTS was never expired and it's still designed to work. There you go. Rolling. Just keep those distros rolling. Says Java Man. Greetings, Java Man. Moonbase Alpha Grace, take me to your leader. I hope that you're doing well on the Moonbase. I passed by today. I waved. Silver Adventures, greetings. Bobby Baloney, I haven't seen you before. Greetings. Welcome. You are on time. Segu Taito. It was Kubuntu user back in 2015 on my brand new PC. Installed Arch because of AUR and kept rolling. The distros rolling. Yeah, absolutely. So I did get a new hat. I got a new Red Hat in today. A friend of mine actually works for a big tech company, and he had some OpenSUSE. He had some Lenovo hats. The red hat that was good, iconic, especially since somebody yelled at me for always wearing that red shirt the other day, and I have no idea what he's talking about because I don't wear a red shirt, but now I'm wearing a red hat, so and it's from Red Hat.
Yeah,
so.
If I ever the one hat that I wish that I'm going to get if I get the chance is the iconic red hat that they have, the an old-fashioned hat. If there is a red red hat logo on it.
I mean, I could always, if we get totally conspiratorial, I could just go with the tinfoil hat instead. But we'll save that for the times that we're going all crazy. Of course, depending on what those crazy types of things are, we may or may not be able to talk about it. YouTube is rolling out some new demonetization strategies if you disagree with the global consensus on a few other things now. So the long growing list of things we can't talk about on YouTube is becoming larger and larger and larger if we
I noticed
monetize our channels. But today, hopefully, we are safe talking about Linux distributions. And so we're just going to talk about rolling versus long-term stable Linux distributions. I thought this was a good one. There is a debate, there's a discussion, and I think the way that things are rolling out these days, Arch with Bleeding Edge it's really fine. I haven't seen a reason not to use it. But still, I'm still using Linux Mint for my main production. I'm using Arch for my other stuff, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Other news, I did get the replacement AC adapter for my camera, but I also, when I bought that, I actually also bought another buck converter, and this buck converter I got to actually tie the camera directly into the DC power source, so I don't even need the AC power adapter, but we'll see how that works, and we'll get that installed, and then I got probably a better quality power adapter for the camera. But right now, since I haven't had a chance to test all this stuff yet, it just came in today, I'm still running off of the battery system that I built last what was that, Monday's video or something. It was a video that got almost no views. It was kind of fun. I was like, it was Saturday. I think I got like 400 views. Like, nobody cares about fixing electrical equipment in a van, I guess. I don't know.
Louis Rossmann has the same experience on his channel. He started the channel by fixing logic boards and so on, and he still does. But those videos get nowhere. They are not even in the same ballpark in the figures as the.
Well, of course, them boards cannot compete with New York City.
No, this is true. I mean, I've seen this board reviews. Like,
I watched one today.
Do good. Yeah, I mean, I've seen those do good, but
it's just that they kind of drag. Where's the end? Get to the end. What's broken?
What's personally say I don't usually watch the Rossmann board repair stuff, but I do like the commentary and things like that. So I'm one of the ones that will not watch the board repair as much but I will watch those. But I guess the question is does it interest people with doing some weird rigging things up in the van because something breaks and you gotta move along, and that's why I actually carried these extra buck converters with me, just to make sure I always have stuff. Or who knows, maybe I just didn't put it up on the social media platforms. I forgot and people didn't see it, or it just wasn't promoted or whatever else. Or people are like, oh, what do I care about fixing a camera for? I don't know. But I was basically just using a buck converter and wiring some things around so that I could actually continue to use my camera without using the camera battery, which will not last long enough to do a full stream on. So, but anyway, that's so that's there. So I don't know. Maybe I'll throw on the Van Life channel. I'll put the repairs and stuff like that, because I think that's more interest if you're following Van Life stuff. If you're not following the Van Life channel, we are at Tux Traveler on YouTube, and I don't have that anywhere else right now. That one's only on YouTube right now. And the last video was Tuesday. I did a video on Tuesday, and we talked about how to calculate the amount of power that you have. And then immediately after doing that, the entire power grid got thoroughly tested in here, because I have not seen the sun in 3 days. We are still running, although I did recharge my batteries at my friend's house last night. As of now, though, we're still running at 13.1 volts, which is strong. But after having this stream and then the following stream at 9 o'clock tonight, I might plug into my friend's house again. It depends on what my numbers look like. But anyway, that's what's going on in my world. So we're about 10 minutes in. Anything else we want to talk about before we talk rolling distros?
Have you figured out exactly if you get any extra juice if you park under a strong parking lot light at night or something like that?
No, you won't draw enough power to do that. Like, the only thing that might is if you park directly under a lot of sodium lamps. But most lights these days are not sodium lamps because they use too much power. So usually what the lights are, they're standard halogens, which only have, they're basically mostly hydrogen powered. They only have just the bare minimum spectrums. It's not enough to trigger solar panels or anything like that. So
that's good to know.
Yeah, I don't imagine I would.
That's what I was thinking about, them sodium bulbs, strong lights they use in parking lots and factories and stuff like that. And even the factories, they're taking them down because they just eat too much juice in a building that makes stuff. And they're putting LED bulbs, and
that's what you do.
Fluorescent replacements.
That's why all my bulbs in this van are all LEDs, because they use almost no power at all, and so that's kind of the stuff that you want to do. But no, if I see a sodium lamp somewhere, maybe I'll park under it some night just to see if it triggers anything. But it's not going to trigger enough power to actually withdraw anything. Go ahead, Sylvia.
Speaking of power, this summer, a couple of months ago, there was it broke the news in Norway. There is a building, construction work going on in our capital in Oslo, and the government has implemented some rules that if it's possible, then all the equipment and the machines have to be electric and not fossil fuel based, no diesel. And one of the construction firms had, in light of this new regulation coming, they have invested in a battery-powered excavator, and yes, it worked. But one of the journalists got a bullseye photo of. While the excavator was working, it was connected connected to a charger powered by a big gasoline generator.
Yeah, it's electric, but it's just we still charge it with gas. Yeah. Shadow says you do get some power through the clouds at least. Yeah. I drew today. I think the most I saw today is extraordinarily cloud cover. I was actually drawing 5 amps in, which actually was enough to charge the batteries. Like I minimized the big computer, but I used everything else. 5 amps breaks even to running everything I have except the big computer. So 5 amps is enough to sustain. So through a cloudy day, I can sustain as long as I'm not using the big processing computer. Yeah, drawing in 5 amps though, I need 10 to break even with the big computer, and I need like 15 or 20 to charge on top of running the big computer. So that's what that looks like. All right, let's go ahead and chat about rolling distros, LTS distros, and things like that. Let's start in with rolling distributions. Now, Dan, you said that you had issues with rolling distributions every time you try them.
When I first tried them, I'm not going to name names because I really don't want to pick on distros and I used a distro, an Arch-based distro, and when I first started, and I went from Mint and I went to that to check it out, and I was on it for a couple of weeks, and I got an update. I reboot the computer, and then it says the computer failed to start, and the light DM was missing, unable to start light DM.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of my time trying to track down on another computer how to fix it, how to reinstall light DM, and what went wrong, and I couldn't get it to work. So I reinstalled the distro again because I didn't have much in the computer to begin with, and at that time I wasn't really into games and had a full Steam suite full of games all built in. And I tried it again, and a few months later it kind of did the same thing. I reboot the computer, gone. Unable to fix it.
I know you didn't want to name names, but was that Manjaro? Because that would happen with Manjaro a while ago. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I have personally not had a problem with Manjaro blowing itself up, but some people have. I cringe every time I have to update my Raspberry Pi, which runs Manjaro, but I've not had a problem with it. So,
I've ran Arco Linux, the net installer version. I think they call it Arco B.
Mm-hmm.
And I put that on a laptop. The problem with Arch-based distros that are constantly updating, you got to remember these things are updating continuously to become the next new distro. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a new distro, a new distro, a new distro, and there's no going back. It's constantly improving and going forward in time with everything else. And there's no stopping point. When you release, when the updates come out and get released, you get the next latest, greatest thing that's available in the Linux world. And sometimes even that's software too. And I've heard this problem with Kden Live. Some people like a certain version of Kden Live. They'll get a rolling release distro of the next newest Kden Live, and they won't like it because Kden Live moved everything around in their suite.
Yep.
And them are some of the things, that you've got to consider when you go with rolling. You got to be able to roll with it. Now, if you stop rolling with it and you set your laptop aside and go on vacation for a couple of weeks, and you come back and you've missed several updates, and then you go to try and update it again, it may not take those updates because it needed 6 other updates before it.
Well, it'll usually do an okay job. I mean, I update my Arch system once a month. As usually
my Arco one, I think I let it go almost 2 months and it wouldn't recover from it.
Yeah, you're asking for trouble going that long, but
But that's my experience with rolling distros, and I don't want to be someone here that's picking on rolling distros, because I know there's people that out there that absolutely love them, and that's fine, and that's great. I mean, you're on the edge of excitement all the time of what you might get in the next update.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know, if you want to play it safe, you know, even Ubuntu's kind of a semi-rolling thing. They don't want to admit it, but they change stuff in the kernel and their hardware enablement stack constantly. I've had a notebook computer that actually had all the drivers and everything in the kernel, and they updated the kernel, and all of a sudden I had no Wi-Fi, and I had nothing but trouble with it. You know, but you know, now I'm using the latest Debian Bullseye. It does very little updating at all, if anything. People say you can't get the newest packages with it. Well, you can if you're crafty. You can you can go to backports. Backports will get you something newer than what came with it. You can bask a little bit into the Flatpak world. Flatpaks are really great for giving you the right now thing. They have the right now Audacity thing that we were all talking about as the spyware in it. Yay. Well, they got it in Flatpak version, you know, if you want to go down that road.
Absolutely. Salbu, give us your thoughts on rolling distros.
Yeah, I'm personally, I have two views on this. On the servers, I always do an LTS released distro, and my preferred one is Debian, because it's the father of most of the other, and also they only use free software unless you activate the non-free, and But on my home machines, I don't so much care for an LTS release as I care about having a stable release. That where the only changes are updates and fixes and security fixes, but it doesn't change any version unless that is needed to fix a security related or a bug. And the only way, So I prefer stable releases, and rolling releases are for those who like me, who do some package building for a distro, and I have a VM for that. That is our equivalent of a rolling, which is the Debian SID equivalent, where all the new versions of everything comes in, regardless of whether that breaks everyone's machines. But those who use those distros are expected to know how to fix any problems that arises, and they are expected to. They are to expect that breakages can come at any point, and that is one of the problems with a rolling release. Like Dan said, that an update can come in that breaks something, and you have to wait for new versions of the software to fix it, or the distribution has to roll back to a previous working version. And all that, much of this is avoided by having a stable release, like Red Hat does, and like Open Mandriva and Mageia and SUSE and so on. But an LTS is excellent for those who just want a system to work, and they don't care too much about updating to the latest and greatest. They just want a system that works for a few years down the line. And in that regard, Debian is an excellent choice. Ubuntu and Mint and so on is an excellent choice, where you have a few years of official support, and in Debian's case, a few years, 1 year after the next release, and then you have to change the package repo, and you get another few years.
Yeah. So, I mean, in my experience, and I use one of my systems is LTS for production. One of my systems is Arch rolling for media stuff. And I like the rolling in that I get a chance to see what's coming down the pipeline, so that when I need to update my main production system, that I'm not totally surprised by everything. But I don't want things changing on production on a regular basis. So I run Endeavor OS as the Arch distribution that I'm running, which is really good. I've had very minimal issues. We had a case where Arch had Pummock blew up on itself. But, people identified the issue and released some fixes, and you check your documentation and, we can get it fixed. And so you have to, if you're running rolling, generally nowadays you don't have the problems that you used to have a long time ago, but there still could be a few problems. You have to be comfortable checking the wikis, the documentation, and the forums to figure out what else is going on. I see our FBI agent has joined. Hi, FBI agent.
We actually have a newer Arch-based distro that came out called Garunda. It's like number 8 on DistroWatch.
Yeah,
people are telling me that's pretty decent.
I did a video on it, and I praised it as being a really good Arch distro, and then I tried to use it for doing a media review video, and I could not get any media to play on it. And so I'm not sure if that was a problem. Now, other people have said they have not had any problems, so maybe I need to go back, reinstall it on real hardware, and see if I can get it to work better in that respect. But with that being said, though, overall, it has a lot of cool tools that makes it a really good distribution. Some people criticize the style and design because there's a lot of flashiness in it, at least in some of the versions. So if those aren't your thing, then you have to think about that. But other than that, though, it is definitely one worth looking at if you're there. How's it going, Mark?
Pretty good.
All right. We're talking about rolling distros.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, we're talking about rolling distros right now. If you want to throw in something about rolling distros before we move on to LTS.
Fedora is it's been really good for me. Treated me well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been threatening to leave for Pop! OS for a while now, but I haven't because everything is pretty dang stable for the most part. And right now I'm on.
Well, is Fedora rolling or non-rolling?
Not specifically. So Fedora it's like Ubuntu in the non-LTS branch, where every few months they'll come up with
every 6 months.
They'll come up with a new version, so it's not rolling, but it's not long LTS either.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
in between.
Every 6 months they come up with a new version, and they get a lot of stuff forwarded out of Red Hat that goes into it.
Correct. So maybe one of the things we should mention here is when we're talking about a rolling distribution, Arch, of course, is your biggest, most popular rolling distribution. You also have OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, so there's 2 OpenSUSEs. You have Tumbleweed, and you have what's the other one? Tumbleweed, and what's the other one for OpenSUSE?
I can't remember. I haven't used
Leap
OpenSUSE.
Is the
Leap. Thank you.
Leap.
Yeah. So Leap would be more like the Ubuntu or the Fedora.
Yeah.
Tumbleweed is the rolling, and then Solus. Somebody mentioned Solus is rolling as well. So there's a few different options out there. Also, you can enable like Debian SID is rolling, although it's more of a testing branch. And so it's not really one that you want to reliably use. But that being said,
Fedora is probably not great for mission critical work. If you're an enthusiast and you want the latest packages, then rolling makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, not Fedora. From what I've been told, Fedora is the latest version or the latest distro to actually incorporate Pipewire into their distro.
Yeah.
And they don't use Pulse Audio anymore. They use Pipewire.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how that runs for them down the road, because audio can be. I guess people say audio is a challenge, but I haven't personally had a whole lot.
It's been a little buggy in the past, but they seem to. Well, to be honest, while I'm training, I'm forced into using Windows because, I could totally use Fedora for what I do, but I'm new and I don't want to upset the higher ups and give them a reason to fire me whatsoever. So
there you go.
I kind of got to play the game for a little while until eventually maybe I can switch over to using my Linux Fedora install, and they won't even know the difference. But not until I get super comfortable
you
with
just got to use Plasma and just use the Windows theme and just make everything look like Windows, and then they just won't even notice. I mean, that's what you got to do. If you got to use it, I mean,
if anybody from that they're growing rapidly. So if anybody from my 500 plus employee company sees this video, oh well, I'm ousted.
Why are they anti-Linux people?
Dawson, we got Dawson here.
I would think that being both a Windows and a Linux user, that they would actually appreciate that you can do both.
Yeah, they probably do.
A friend of mine was toying with the idea of installing Linux on his parents' computer and installing Ubuntu. There is a theme that you can, or at least you could back in the day, where you can install a theme on the desktop where it would look like Windows XP. This was 10-15 years ago. He toyed with this idea. And even the login manager could, if you chose a login, you could theme the login manager. And one of the themes that I tested it, and it was hilarious. It looks like exactly like the login screen for Windows XP. And,
Salbu, there's a distro that we're testing for Big Daddy Linux. It's called Windows FX11. It mimics Windows 11 almost perfectly.
Wow.
It's even got PowerShell in it. It's got all the Microsoft apps in it, but it's KDE supported.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. Even the window, you open the file manager, you can't tell them apart from Windows 11 or the Windows FX.
That's pretty.
I'm looking to see how Fedora advertises themselves, because I've heard both. I've heard people say it's rolling, and then I've heard people say
it's not
rolling.
Not really rolling. And the reason it's not rolling is you don't have the upgrade path. So what the rolling is going to mean is you install it once, and then as long as you keep installing the updates, you're always getting the latest version, so you don't have to wipe it out and rebuild it. Fedora, you do need to wipe it out and rebuild it. So that's kind of the difference.
Fair enough. I'll take your word for it. So I was wrong on that.
Let's go ahead.
That kind of really sucks if you're a gamer and you use Steam, because when you play games on Steam and you got a lot of them, there's commands that you have to put in for each game in the Proton box. There's and choose the correct Proton version for that game.
Yeah.
And when you go to hop, you lose that, and you got to manually re-enter all that stuff unless you know where it's stored, and it's a real bugger to do.
Yeah. Now the Steam Deck, which is coming out to do the portable Steam games, is based on Arch, which is a good thing for the Linux users in that they're working with Arch and Valve are working together to have the latest compatibility with as many video games as conceivably possible. And so that's actually a really good thing there. Let's jump over to LTS. We're about halfway through the day here. So LTS is long-term stable. And this basically means you're going to install it. You're going to have very few updates. You are going to have the latest security fixes, but it's not changing your software around. This is why they use Debian on the space station, and why some people will use Debian on just a variety of different things. So, Salbu, let's start with you. And what's your take on LTS? And when do you use it?
I'm using LTS on servers. Me and a friend have a server in a data center, and he himself have a few servers at home. He has a 4U server with 20 hard drives in it. He has a big media library, and we use Debian on a big because they have a long time support for. So on servers, it is critical to have a long-term support release, so that even when they come up with a new version, you have some a year or 2 years, depending on how you want to go. deciding how to upgrade and when to upgrade, and if you don't have an LTS, then you can really fast come behind, and you really don't, on a mission critical system, you really don't want to have to upgrade every 6 months in order to keep getting security fixes and so on. So for servers on a mission critical system, LTS is a must.
Yeah, and that's why I use an LTS for my main production computers. I'm using Linux Mint Cinnamon because you set it up, you get it working, which usually isn't a problem with Cinnamon, and it just runs forever. Like right now, I seriously need to update my system. I'm still running 18.3 on this, so I definitely need to update it, but it's still running just fine. The only issues I'm having right now is some of the newer Linux distributions are not working right in VirtualBox because my VirtualBox version is so old. And Jim, remembering now, I forgot that I was supposed to go to Best Buy today and look to see if they have hard drives in, so I can, buy a new hard drive rather than wipe this one out in case I need something off of it. But we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, that's the advantage of LTS, mission critical, because that way if something breaks, you don't want to spend time to, you don't want to be spending your whole day trying to get something to work. I did realize I forgot to go back and look at comments again, so let's jump in to comments, then we'll jump up to Dan with LTS here. Let's see if anybody sees any specific comment you'd like to read. Go for it. Software from the same year as the computer. There you go. Has anybody forked Audacity yet? I have not been looking. Anyone looking at that yet?
There is, last time I looked at a few months ago now, but even DistroTube commented that there are 4 forks, and what remains is that some the distros have to start moving to one of the forks, and people are still waiting to see what the decision is.
Yeah, we need one of the forks to come out as dominant and start moving. So let's see. Off topic, my work is applying for a grant. Wants me to make some simple videos for them. Any thoughts on an easy video editing software for Linux? I use Kden Live. I want to have a look at the latest OpenShot. There's been some new developments in OpenShot that I was going to have a look at it about a month or so ago, and I couldn't get components of it to work, but I think those might be fixed as of now. So have a look at OpenShot and Kden Live.
There was a user who commented that he said that I don't want Linux to be like Windows. I think many people are having that feeling.
Yeah. I definitely don't want Linux to be like Windows either. That would suck. I mean, that would defeat the whole purpose of doing this, and I'd have to switch to something else crazy, Run Linux Mint on 3 computers in the house, 2 laptops and a desktop. On the desktop, I also have Ubuntu Studio and Manjaro. Yeah, I run Linux Mint on this computer and my main work laptop, and I run MX Linux on my writing computer, and Endeavor OS on this other one. And do I have more? Those are like the multi-purpose computers. And of course, I have OpenShot, and I have some servers and stuff like that floating around in here as well. Pop OS looks like an OS out of a kid's cartoon. Okay. Is it becoming more kids'
someone
cartoony?
else said that because I was thinking that.
All right. Yeah, I haven't looked at it for a while, but yeah.
They got that big robot thing for a wallpaper.
Well, a lot of people are going to this modern, huge, big rounded corners. I think it looks blah.
Yeah, unless you're into Transformers for wallpaper.
Let's see. By the way, somebody said he got mining malware from Firefox on Fedora, screwed up the system, and the hard drive was crippled. Oh, that's not good. If you have mission critical work, use something like Mint DE. Are you using the Linux Mint Debian Edition still, Dan?
No, actually, I have that on a drive sitting over here, and I went over to the forums for the Linux Mint DE people, and I did some reading, and from what I got out of it, they were in no hurry to actually release number 5.
That doesn't surprise me.
The people over there kind of softly explained that Linux Mint is our core product that we produce, and the DE edition is a side project. Correct. So we'll release it when we get time. So I just jumped on the Debian Bullseye and put the Cinnamon plugins in.
Yeah, there you go.
It's really nice with the DE because you get all the tools that you get with regular Linux Mint. They build those into the Debian edition, which gives you almost something that's almost the same as Linux Mint, really.
Yeah. I wonder if you could just use Linux Mint Debian edition and then change the Debian repos to the latest. That'd be an interesting experiment. Maybe I'll try it.
Well, the Debian edition of Linux Mint does use the Debian repos, and they use a Linux Mint repo for the Cinnamon.
Yeah, but do they use the latest Debian? That's the question.
They use the current stable one, which for Linux Mint Debian edition, Debi number 4, they use Buster.
Okay. Yeah.
However, you can install the back port to go up to Bullseye and get some newer stuff. Like I got a newer kernel on mine. I went from what was it, 4 or something, all the way up to 510 or something like that.
Cool.
Paladin says Palladini 971 says, remember, the Transformer movies were made with Blender and Kdenlive on Linux platform.
Nice, very good. Maybe I'll have to watch them again just to have a little respect for the Transformers movies. But as far as I'm concerned, that crap ruined my childhood. So, yeah, it's like Transformers was so good, and then they come up with this dark, overly insane crap. Let's see. Ben Fitzpatrick, hello, greetings.
And I see we have a Swedish user in the chat today, Mr. Anderson. And so, tjenare, Mr. Anderson.
John Maddox says, what Linux is like Windows? I'd say Ubuntu is most like Windows.
Yeah, I mean, if you want one that has the philosophy most similar to Windows, I would definitely go with Ubuntu. Yeah. Random off topic. Anyone played MTG? I'm getting Magic the Gathering you're talking about? Yes, I played Magic. I played Magic the Gathering back when the dark was a thing. Let's see.
I would say Linux Mint with the Cinnamon desktop set up like Windows 7 is as close as you're going to get.
Well, Plasma actually has Windows 10 themes now built in, which will make your computer look exactly like Windows.
Yeah, you can really deck it out.
Yeah, they're doing a lot with Plasma. I mean, they now, like I said, they have Windows FX 11. It looks. Yeah. I have a copy of Windows 11 too. It looks just like it.
Yeah, like I'm running Manjaro Plasma, and the more I use Plasma for work, the more I hate it. It's just too buggy, and it's like, okay, I'm copying a file from the desktop to this folder. Don't give me a pop-up dialog box every time. Do you want to move it or copy it? Just move the damn thing, you know?
I'm not a fan of Dolphin File Manager anymore. I think it's got...
Yeah, I hate Dolphin, and that's
they should put a little checkbox in that, remember this decision or something like that.
Yeah. It's or use like every single other file manager. If you're copying it within the drive, it moves. If you're copying it across the drive, it copies.
And it sits.
This is not difficult.
And it sits nicely in the background with Nemo.
Is it using Dolphin?
And just does the progress. Oh, and you don't even realize it, and you've got it transferred already.
Yeah.
Like if you're moving large files, it'll give you a little spinning wheel at the top, and it does it so nice and so quiet. It just does it in the background, and it does its thing.
Yeah.
And you can see the progress right there on the same window.
So I'm wondering if I should try and put a different DE on that. Now that's running on a Raspberry Pi, so I can't use Budgie or Cinnamon because it doesn't support the graphics acceleration at this point in time. So I can't use those. Maybe I'd do an XFCE or a Mate or something. But yeah, I mean, I like Plasma in theory, but it's just the more I use it, the more annoying it becomes.
Mate is not a bad desktop environment. It's actually fairly good.
I've never been a fan of it.
It's just a little antiquated.
Anyway, I think we got a little off topic here. Let's jump back to LTS. Dan, we're on to you. You use primarily LTS, hence Debian.
Yeah,
so.
I stick to LTS versions. I don't have TV service anymore. I canceled it due to their insane pricing and their insane politics. And the insane almost nothing on TV that you really want to watch.
Yeah.
So when I get up in the morning, I get my coffee and I come here and I come to this nice dual monitor setup and I want to see some news, some YouTube, or whatever, and I can count on Debian every morning to start up. I don't even shut it down, really. I just suspend it. It does suspension really well.
The only thing I can say about TV, though, is you have it all on UHF. So
Coffee is life. Coffee helps me get up in the morning.
I have tons of DVDs, too. As a matter of fact, I just started watching Battlestar Galactica again.
Yeah, and so I just got that in with my Amazon stuff. I ordered my geeky electronic equipment in UHF, and so I gotta rip that into the system tonight.
I have an old Dell dual core computer. It has Peppermint 9 on it. It works really good. I've kind of saved it from the trash. It's got the fastest dual core processor that they actually made back then. I went out of my way to upgrade it.
Both Peppermint and MX Linux are great on a laptop. If you've got like a really old laptop that's got like a small screen or a netbook, I think Peppermint runs really well on those.
It does.
Peppermint is pretty good.
Yeah.
I got another notebook, an HP one over here that's a little newer. I upgraded it from an i5 to an i7.
Yeah.
And it runs really good. And anytime if the power goes out and I can't get on the internet, I can grab a DVD box set, take one of these laptops, and go sit on the couch, and start watching one of those, and I'm entertained.
Yeah.
And Peppermint has gorgeous wallpapers.
And
they're
Peppermint,
not quite mint level, but go
ahead. Peppermint is an LTS, since we are on the LTS section here.
Yeah.
So the reason I use LTS personally for my production stuff is I don't want things to change. I want to know that whenever I boot in my system, it's not changing. The software versions aren't changing. If there's an update at all, it's just going to be security. And really, to me, that's the thing. Now, back in the day, an LTS would be more stable as far as fewer potential problems. That's not as much of a problem today, but it is still something we need to think about and be concerned with. As I said, Endeavor OS has blown up a few little components. I've never had a case where it wouldn't boot on, but I've had like POMOC die and things like that, and then you just have to, do what you need to do.
Well, remember, change is expensive, and it's almost always at your expense.
Yeah. So you got to keep that in mind. But LTS, if you need mission critical or you need that solid stability, LTS is going to be your way to go. Anyone else want anything else on LTS?
Or if you don't, if you're new to Linux and you don't necessarily have to have the latest packages, you just want something recently up to date that doesn't have to be the latest and greatest. Linux Mint is really difficult to beat for a home user, new user to Linux. It's they've modernized it quite a bit. It's quite more modern looking nowadays than what it used to be, but it's a little less new and flashy than some other distros out there. However, it's typically very reliable. I won't say it's rock solid because I can't say that anymore, but this latest version has been much more stable for what little bit I've used it. And it's just very, very reliable. It's got a whole team of developers behind it. They're just they're really, really good at what they do, and it's been
right now. Ubuntu's kind of like in their transition stage into getting everything into snaps.
Yeah,
And
right
it's
now
becoming a real hassle too,
It
because I
is.
don't have Snapd, or I have Snapd installed but not fully activated on my laptop. And I wanted to put HTOP on it. It wanted me
HTOP is
actually,
great.
it wanted me to get the Snap version. It forced me to do that.
Yeah, and really the biggest problem, one of the problems I have talking about this subject with Snap is it defeats the purpose of not changing my software versions. There's a reason I use an LTS, and that's that I don't want things to change. So stop trying to force the snaps with the latest versions. I don't want your latest upgraded version. I want my platform to be consistent. I don't want to be surprised when I turn on my computer tomorrow. And that's the biggest problem we have with the snaps, and the flat packs do the same thing. I want the repo version with just give me total control. Don't change anything unless I specifically want the latest version. Give me the ability to add a new repo. That's fine. Give me the ability to do whatever. That's fine. But I don't want snaps because I don't want my system to automatically be changing my software versions.
If you're an XFCE lover and you don't mind that your it's actually a very beautiful distro if you theme it correctly. I lost it. MX.
I'm an XFCE lover, not a fighter.
MX the one. MX Linux. I don't know what he just said. I'm scared to ask what you just said.
On this machine,
That's
I get
Michael
terrible
Jackson
screen
song.
tearing
Come
with
on.
XFCE.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
MX Linux lover. Ow!
Oh boy, having too much fun over here.
Yeah, it's MX is it's hard to beat MX. MXs and Linux Mint are two of my all-time favorite distros across the entire history of Linux.
Yeah,
It's,
MX is really good as well. So.
Yeah.
When I first started playing with Linux, I tried both MX and Manjaro at the same time, and they almost looked at face value exactly the same as far as the desktop.
Be aware, MX puts the taskbar on the left-hand side of the screen.
Yep.
So if you're not, you can move it, but it's backwards.
Yeah,
I've just tried it lately.
I like it, but a lot
I
of
can't get it on the bottom the way it's supposed to be orientated.
Yeah,
on MX?
It flips it.
Yeah, on
It
MX.
flips the orientation. You have to
pretty easy
customize
to do. I mean, that's where I put mine.
Right.
I played with it for
also got
hours
to
until I was frustrated.
start for the over last. That
You
was
can put it on the bottom, but I always wind up with the junk on the opposite ends of it.
Yes.
That's the problem with most people have.
Yeah, if you just right click and panel edit mode and just drag stuff around, it's nice and easy. Do I hear?
When I do that, now this was old, like 19.1 or 19.2.
This is like just last month I was playing with it and I had trouble.
It flipped. The start is on the other side.
I have a video half done on first steps with MX Linux, but the new version doesn't work with my version of VirtualBox. So
I'm sure there is a way to do it.
I'm going to do it over. Yeah, I'm going to do it over.
I figured it out once before. I just
over.
can't repeat it.
Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah. Watch Tom's video coming up if they can get that out sometime.
Yeah, I'll work on it. I wanted to do that yesterday, but power was running too low, and the latest version of MX Linux will not work with my ancient version of VirtualBox. Hence, I need to go to Best Buy and buy a new hard drive, install a new version of Linux Mint on this thing. But it is actually working just fine on my laptop, which is newer. So I might just plug in the laptop with the capture card and just.
That's
do it
what I
there,
did when I hopped. Is I actually just bought a new 2 terabyte SSD and just started with fresh hardware to put the Debian Bullseye on.
Anything else we wanted to say about rolling versus LTS? Salvo, you want to jump in? You've been quiet for a little bit.
If you're afraid of change, use LTS.
Yeah, if you for those who are still deciding whether to go for an LTS or a rolling release, they need to figure out if they are willing to take on the hassle and the pain of having to fix any issues that a rolling release can entail very quickly. Or if they prefer to have a stable that where everything just works until a new version comes out, then go for an LTS instead.
Mm-hmm.
And for the 0.001% of you out there, y'all can run Slackware or Gentoo.
Yeah, Gay. If you're just into punishment, just
here's looking at you, Distro too.
That reminds me, 20 years ago, this year, I think, I sent a copy of Corel Linux 1.2, which was the last version that they released until they were bought by Microsoft. A friend of mine, I sent him a CD with that, and he loved it so much that he had his school. He wanted to. They had an internet router, an ESDN router, that was horrible and unreliable. And he said that he could install Linux on a computer that could take on that role. And the principal approved his plan, and so his first ever install of Linux was an easy to install. And then on the school system, he decided that Slackware was the thing to go. And I think he used a month to install everything because he had to install something, and then he came to a step that he didn't know how to do, and then he rebooted into another system in order to Google and yeah. So Slackware, even unexperienced people can do it if they have a month to spare.
I watched a couple of Gentoo installs, and it's like you got to know your hardware really good because you got to make some really serious hardware selections with the net installer to build your kernel.
I tried to install Arch. I am the upstream maintainer for the CD repair and grip, grip, or how you say it. And he had a bug about something he didn't. He couldn't do on Arch, so I downloaded an Arch ISO and created a VirtualBox VM, and I didn't manage to install the thing, so I gave up, and I've been doing Linux for 20 years, and I don't know how to install Arch, so it's not for the average person, not yet anyway.
Well, if you need to install Arch, just use like Endeavor, or you can use Arch 5. There's a lot of scripts you can use.
You really want something that's in between super easy and raw Arch. Arco Linux, I think it's B, with the net installer. Yeah. There's a couple of videos to help you do that. Yeah. And you can easily get up and run quick with that. So but it gives you that Arch building feel.
Yeah, there's Arco Linux. I'm using Endeavor, which is good. There's Garuda that we talked about earlier, and Arch Labs. Those are all ones that are pretty good for
Arch Labs comes. Arch. Does Arch Labs is super minimal? It comes with open box on it.
But I had the same experience as Dan had back in 2003-4, something like that. I got a new computer and I wanted to install Linux on. It was my second Linux PC. I already had Red Hat running on one, Red Hat 7.1, and I have been my understanding was getting that Debian was the thing to try. So I installed Debian 3.0 release candidate 1. I didn't know what a release candidate was back then, so I installed that and or tried to install it, and it was a text-based installer. That was the default installer. And after it had asked me about 20 questions, I gave up, and then I installed Mandrake, it was still called back then, which came on a magazine on 2 CDs. And I've been told by Devon, it was a Norwegian who created the Debian installer that I have been using for the last 15 years, which Ubuntu also uses. And he said that back then the default installation asked about 200 questions, and I gave up after 20.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's like, I don't know. I don't care. It's like me playing Final Fantasy VII. No! Just randomly
some
hitting
example,
buttons.
it asked me what type of CPU I had, because I knew that. And then how much RAM I had, and I approximately knew that. And then he asked me what the VGA card I had. I had no idea, so I just picked something. And what chipset the VGA card had. I didn't have the faintest idea. And after about 20 questions like that, I gave up and I thought to myself, this kind of crap is it's supposed to figure that out by itself. And Mandrake did figure all that out by itself. I only had to pick a username, a password for the root user and the account user, and whether or not I wanted to partition manually or automatically, and that was about it.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all I got on.
All right. We'll do our final words here. We're coming up right up on 8 o'clock. Of course, I will be streaming at 9 o'clock on my Christian channel. We're talking about, is your church being governed properly? So we'll be talking about church government stuff. 9 o'clock. I'll drop the link there in the chat. Mark, give us your final words.
I normally do shameless self-promotion, but I'm not going to right now. If you are interested in Christianity or God in any manner, without going too much into detail, do check out our Walk in Christ. I don't know about tonight, maybe another stream, because tonight is more so for people that are. We are talking about critical things that pertain to every Christian tonight on tonight's stream, because it's a big question how you manage your church. But we'll talk about that on that stream there, which is 9 o'clock Eastern time. I put the link in there. Yeah, check it out. Head on over, and if you like what you see, give them a thumbs up and a comment will help us engagement. Tom does a really good job on that channel, and I'm not saying it just because I'm here on stream with him. He works very hard on it, and he does an awesome job with it. So if you're at all interested, please do check him out. Thanks.
Yeah. And since we are on this another topic, there are a few people who this is special for English-speaking users. You have a lot of Bible translations. One way to a lot of people, or I see that some people are having a difficult figuring out which Bible version to start reading. And my advice would be to read the first few chapters in Genesis, and if it says, it will say one or two things. It will either say, and it was evening and morning on the first day, and on the second day, or it will say it was evening and morning a first day, or a second day, meaning not the first day. So it might, and if those verses are not correct, then what else is not correct? So that is one point to start. It need to say the first day, and the second day, and the seventh day, and so
on. Let's see, do you have friendly debates on religion? Nothing hateful, just debates. Not on the Switch to Linux channel, I don't. I'm not opposed to doing that. If you want to do a debate or something on the Christian channel, I don't mind doing that. Dan, final words?
Bible.
Yeah, there you go. Dan, final words, LTS or rolling?
If you are a person that likes change constantly, if you're up to getting the newest thing as it comes out, you're better off to go with the rolling releases. If you are a person that gets agitated when things do not work right or are changed, or your software is all of a sudden the next version, stick with the LTS stuff. You can update those or change the versions of your software on your own without being forced to.
Yep. Hello? Anyone there? I think I lost Jitsi.
LTS.
Oh no. It looks like I'm still streaming live. I just lost the guys on Jitsi. We're trying to rejoin now. Somebody just pulled in next to the van, and so I'm wondering, did they goof up the something there? Whoa, hello, are we there? Are we here?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, and I'm yellow again.
Oh no. Yeah, I think somebody messed up the aura of the internet, so somebody pulled in next to where I'm at, and so, you know.
That was weird.
I think they didn't like my advice on how to check the Bible.
Well, I mean, maybe they saw my internet says FBI surveillance van and got a little paranoid.
Yeah, it's the buzz. I sent them. It's all me.
I think if you're somebody that's really into Linux and wants to really learn it and make it your hobby, probably rolling release would be a little better for you. If you're somebody that needs your operating system to be an operating system so you can use everything else that you've installed on the operating system, then it's LTS.
Yeah. All right. We're past 8, so we're going to wrap this one up here. We will be streaming tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for the weekly news roundup. We may or may not have a video on Saturday. I know I'm busy all day on Saturday, so I will not be there if we premiere one. And I will attempt to have one out, but we'll see what happens. Depends maybe on what the power does. And then, of course, tonight in 1 hour, we'll be on the Christian stream, and the link for that is in the chat. So with that, thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you guys tomorrow with the weekly news roundup.
Thanks, guys. See y'all. Thanks for coming out. Always.
Absolutely.